Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. You are listening to The Wake Up. On the show today, a major new investigation by the New York Times about his finances during Donald Trump's finances during his business career. We're also going to be talking about Iran's partial withdrawal from the 2015 nuclear deal and a deadly school shooting in Colorado. That's what we have on tap for you today. Thank you so much for joining us. We got some fun stuff to do. So, all right. Yeah, we start with Donald Trump and his business career. He's long promoted, as I'm sure you know, business prowess, but 10 years of tax information, not tax returns. That's the key distinction there, obtained by the New York Times, paints a far bleaker picture of his deal-making abilities and financial condition. From 1985 to 1994, Trump's core business, largely casinos, hotels, and retail space in apartment buildings, lost more than $1 billion. Year after year, Trump appears to have lost money and more money than nearly any other individual American taxpayer, and the losses enabled him to avoid paying income taxes for 8 of those 10 years. Here are some key takeaways. Trump is even the red, even as he peddled his deal-making advice, which is interesting. Trump Art of the Deal came out in 1987. It became a bestseller and a powerful vehicle for the self-spun myth of self-made billionaire who would ultimately help propel him to the presidency, which is an interesting way of looking at it. Trump has long attributed his first run of business reversals and bankruptcies to the recession that hit 3 years later in 1990, but the New York tax information reveals that he was already deep in financial distress when his Master of the Universe memoir hit the shelves. So he was like, yeah, I'm doing great, guys. Meanwhile, losing billions and billions of dollars, more than nearly any other American taxpayer at the time. So, which is pretty incredible. For Trump, the 1980s were a frenzy of acquisition and construction, buoyed by hundreds of millions of dollars borrowed money. That's the key thing there. In 1985, for the first time, Forbes' rich list included Trump individually, independent of his father, but his estimated net worth, according to the magazine, was $600 million, included the real estate empire that Fred Trump still owned. So when Trump's vast debt and other expenses on his properties, among them Trump Tower and the Grand Hyatt Hotel in Manhattan, as well as 2 Atlantic City casinos, his fortunes were already on the way down. So yeah, pretty much all the properties he had, his properties, like Trump Tower, the Hyatt Hotel, Atlantic City casinos, that debt was pretty crippling. The core business reported a loss of $46.1 million. They also carried a $5.6 million loss for earlier years. In multiple years, he appears to have lost more money than nearly any other individual taxpayer. So he bought Eastern Airlines shuttle, the Eastern Airlines shuttle for $365 million. Never made a profit, and he spent more than $7 million a month to keep it flying. His new Taj Mahal Hotel and Casino opened in 1990 with more than $800 million in debt, sucked revenue from his other casinos, pulling them into the red. So that really kind of killed it. And so year after year, Trump appears to have lost more money than nearly any other individual taxpayer, according to the IRS information on high earners, a publicly available database with taxpayers identifying details removed. In 1990 and 1991, his core business has lost more than $250 million each year. Wow, these are pretty staggering numbers. More than double those of the nearest taxpayers in the sampling for those years. So it's pretty incredible. So yeah, business owners like Trump may also use their losses to avoid paying taxes on future income, which is what he did for 8 of the 10 years that the New York Times has information on this. Over the years, those losses rolled into $915.7 million free pass, known as a net operating loss, that appeared on his 1995 tax returns, pages of which were mailed anonymously to the Times during the 2016 campaign. The new tax information shows how President Trump's net operating losses snowballed, reaching $418 million in 1991. Wow. So that was fully 1% of losses the IRS reported him declared by individual taxpayers all year. So he's literally, losing money at an unparalleled amount. So, He made millions posing into corporate raider until investors realized he never followed through. For a time, Trump was able to kind of stave off his coming collapse with a new help of a public role. He traded on the Business Titan brand to present himself as a corporate raider, saying he would acquire shares in a company with borrowed money, suggest publicly that he was contemplating a takeover, then quietly sell the resulting bump in stock price. An unusual quote from a high-profile associate helped burnish the myth. He had an appetite like a Rocky Mountain vulture, says stockbroker Alan Greenberg. He'd like to own the world. So yeah, that kind of idea was like, yeah, maybe this guy's gonna make me a lot of money for like kind of sicko investor out there. Is like we need to take over and destroy as many Bain Capital type guy. Yeah. So amid the hundreds of figures in 10 years of tax transcripts, one number is particularly striking: $52.9 million interest. $52.9 million in interest income that Trump reported in 1989. In the previous years, Trump had reported a little bit over $460,000, $5.5 million, then $11.8 million in interest. The source of that outlier of $52.9 million in interest, something of a mystery. Taxpayers can receive interest from a variety of sources, including bonds, bank accounts, mortgages. Hard data of the workings of Trump's businesses is hard to come by, but by public findings from a New Jersey casino, regulators show no evidence that he owned anything capable of generating that much interest, nor is there such evidence of a 1990 report of financial condition prepared by accountants he hired at his banker's request. So yeah, what caused him to pay that much interest that one random year? That's another thing to ponder as we look through this information. All right, so the New York Times did not attain Trump's actual returns, which he'd refused to release, but received the information from someone else who had legal access to it. The information does not cover the tax years at the center of an escalating battle between the Trump administration and Congress. All right, so, yeah, but still, it's an interesting picture to know as we take in this entire process here. All right, Iran has going to be calling it quits to part of the nuclear deal, as President Hassan Rouhani said today. His country would stop complying with two of the commitments under the 2015 agreement, which limited Iran's capability to produce nuclear fuel for 15 years. His announcement came exactly 1 year after President Trump withdrew the U.S. entirely from said agreement. Although the administration has continued to demand that Iran fulfill its commitments, which is not going to happen. Sorry, like, if you're not even going to bother to put up the fig leaf that you actually really care about Iran and actually want to see it do well, instead of just, please don't have any nuclear weapons, like, why would you expect Iran to do the same thing? I think it's kind of ridiculous that they're all shocked and chagrined that he's pulling out the nuclear deal, but he has no reason to be in it because you're not even in it. It's a one-sided deal. Like, how and why would he even possibly ever want to stay in it? All right, so yeah, Rouhani said that Iran would begin to build up stockpiles of nuclear material and might resume construction of a reactor if European nations don't begin trading oil in violation of U.S. sanctions. Trump's approach to foreign intervention has always been driven by ideology, less by ideology than his hunger for foreign policy victories. Our White House correspondent for the New York Times writes that tendency has played to the advantage of the hawkish advisors with strong interventionist tendencies such as Pompeo and Bolton, which continue to be a real problem for just the idea of peace in this country. They're continuing to push the Iran deal. Save a rattle with Iran. Do it some more. There we go. Like that kind of stuff is really, really disturbing and very, very problematic. Yeah, so let's hope Europe does start to trade oil with Iran now that they're out of this. So 2 students are being held as suspects after a shooting at a school in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. Douglas County Sheriff Office identified the suspects as an 18-year-old and a juvenile. The school is a STEM school, Highlands Ranch, which is about 1,800 students in kindergarten through 12th grade. It was one of hundreds of Denver schools that are temporarily closed last month over security concerns related to the 20th anniversary of a massacre at the nearby Columbine High School. I heard a gunshot, said Mackay Dixon, who had participated in active shooter drills and lockdown since she was in kindergarten. I'd never heard it before. Now she has. Very, very sad story there. So, yeah, the battle between the Justice Department and the House Democrats are continuing here, as department officials have said that they will ask President Trump to invoke executive privilege to shield the special counsel's report if the Democrats proceed today with a vote to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress. So, yeah, it's really definitely heating up here today. Yeah, they're going to be invoking executive privilege if the House Judiciary votes to hold William Barr in contempt of Congress. So yeah, in a letter to the House Judiciary Committee, the department accused the Democrats of being unreasonable in subpoenaing that material. In the face of the committee's threatened contempt vote, the Attorney General will be compelled to request that the President invoke executive privilege with respect to the material subject to the subpoenas, wrote Barr's deputy, Stephen E. Boyd. I hereby request that the committee hold the subpoena in abeyance and delay the vote on whether to recommend a citation of contempt for the noncompliance with the subpoena, pending the president's determination of this question. So yeah, what do you think he's going to say? The new threat came only hours after the White House stepped in to stop Donald McGahn, a former White House counsel and key witness for Mueller, from handing over documents subpoenaed by House investigators because Trump may want to assert executive privilege. Democrats were enraged and said Wednesday's vote would go on as planned because Barr was in defiance of Judiciary Committee subpoena for the same material he was threatening to steal off. Committee also warned McGahn that if he did not show up for a public hearing this month, they would also most likely hold him in contempt of Congress too. The Judiciary Committee's chairman, Representative Jerry Nadler of New York, said in a statement that the department's argument lacked credibility, merit, or legal factual basis. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because the question is really, I don't know how much of this is like they're paying attention to here, because there's so much other stuff going on. like, is the country really paying attention to this? I don't know. But on the other hand, it's all going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. Yeah, I mean, earlier administrations have fought over congressional subpoenas, but Trump's wholesale refusal to provide information to Congress threatens to upend the Constitution and separation of powers here. Like, it's just that simple. Like, there needs to be somewhat of a cooperation, there's somewhat of a mutual exchange for this thing to really work. It's just that simple. Yeah, I mean, whether you don't want to be in a confrontation away and at home with Iran and with your own Congress here, like, it's not going to work. And I think the fact that William Barr is that kind of unwilling and unreluctant to do it, I don't know. I just don't like it at all. Like, why not just give it to them? Give it to them, just please. Oh my God! Like, what is the problem? I mean, it'd just be nice to even know. All right, so yeah, it's just that simple. All right, we now turn to quick hits in just a few seconds. Join us later tonight for an all-new episode of The List with Hudson Alexander. We'll see you then. But until then, we got more of The Wake Up coming for you in just a few seconds. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's start it. Quick hits time. Let's go. All right, let's start with Georgia. They have a new abortion law out right now. Governor Brian Kemp has signed one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the nation, effectively banning the procedure after 6 weeks of pregnancy when fetal heartbeats can be detected. Drivers in Australia briefly went on strike for Uber, the start of the planned series of global protests as the ride-hailing drive prepares for an initial public offering this week. So hitting where it hurts, I like it. So some of the Uber driver stuff is just absolutely awful what they get paid, and people just having to work a second job, really, to get by here. Everyone should be paid a living wage who works that much with Uber, in my opinion. All right, African American, Native American, and Alaska Native women die of pregnancy-related causes at a rate about 3 times higher than those of white women, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has reported. The chief executive of Sundar Pichai, of Google, Sundar Pichai, sorry, Sundar Pichai, I'm saying that name wrong, right, anyway, stresses the